Hello everyone, and welcome to the inaugural Novarte webinar for 2021. I'm Brad Kelly. I'm going to be your host for the next 45 to 60 minutes or so. We've called this The Power of Cards from BNPL to Crypto, and I'm very excited to be part of this event as we're going to be talking about some very innovative and very exciting developments that are happening in the payment space. There's also a couple of prize giveaways today at the end from friends at iGo Direct, and they're $50 gift cards, but you'll need to stay to the end after the Q&A and get the answers right, and if you do, there's $50 coming your way. So stay tuned. I've got two very special guests today. Firstly, Anthony Jones from Visa, but most of you will know him as AJ. AJ, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about what you're doing at Visa, please, mate?
Yeah, thank you, Brad, and thanks for having me on. So it's great to catch up with you again. So I think I have the greatest job in the world. So I head up innovation and partnership for Visa. That's covering Australia, New Zealand, and the South Pacific. So what myself and my team really do look after is companies that are looking to issue a Visa card for the first time. Now, quite a lot of those are Australian or New Zealand homegrown talent, and then quite a few others are those international players. And they're often working in the crypto space, which I know we're going to talk about a little bit later, also in the buy now, pay later arena, but then also more generally in sort of digital banking spheres as well. So great to talk to you today, Brad. I hope you're going to be kind with me.
Okay.
Thanks for having me on.
And look, I think we've got, the topics are really good, so I think everyone wants to know about buy now, pay later and crypto. So I think we've got exactly the right recipe. So AJ, thank you. And again, we're very grateful for your time today. We know that you're busy. And next up, Marina Fitzgerald is from Novarte. Marina, would you like to just tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing and what's happening at Novarte, please?
Of course, thank you, Brad. It's a great pleasure to be here today. A little bit about us. Novarte Group is a global payment tech company. We were established in '96 and listed on NASDAQ in 2016. And our solutions now cover billing, vouchers, remittances, acquiring, and of course issuing services, which I represent. We became Visa principal issuing partner in 2019, and since then we've been closely working together with AJ's team, with the Innovation Hub here in Sydney. We've launched a variety of programs since. Some notable partnerships I'd like to mention is BIN sponsorship for Marqeta, a US-based global card processor who's quite well known for their innovation. In March this year, we also launched digital Visa gift cards for iGo Direct, who's supplying our gift cards today. They're one of the largest corporate gift card providers in Australia. And of course, we support Fintechs. Some to mention is LifePay and Lit that we assisted to launch. In essence, we are an end-to-end program manager. We offer a variety of payment solutions that includes white label prepaid Visa card, an app, and a CMS portal. We focus on tech and compliance and ensure that our customers essentially launch as quickly as possible and up and running. Thank you, Brad.
Okay, thanks, Marina. And you did mention one of my favourite companies, Marqeta. So I think it's pretty well known that I'm a bit of a fan. And Duncan Curry should be on the call because he did RSVP and he's just taken over as country manager. So I just wanted to give Duncan a shout out as congratulations, well deserved. I think you and AJ are going to go toe to toe for the best job in payments in Australia, to be honest, because I think they're two really, really good. As a combination, they can't be beaten. So thank you, Marina. And iGo who are going to give us those gift cards for people who have been paying attention. And I hope you were listening to Marina because there's a couple of clues in there as to what I'm going to ask you at the end. So anyway, to me, I'm Brad Kelly. So if you don't know me, I'm that guy on LinkedIn every morning that gives you payment stuff. And look, I've been around for, which seems like forever, but it actually started in Melbourne in Diners Club about 25-something years ago when Ansett owned Diners Club, and I know that's always a touchy subject for Ansett frequent flyers, so we'll steer out of that, and we'll talk about the other things that I've done, which is I've worked for ANZ, I've had some time at MasterCard and HSBC, but at the moment I'm a consultant to the payments industry more broadly, so You may have even seen me on 2GB, heard me on 2GB and seen me on Sky News. So who would have thought I ended up with that at this part of my career, but there you go. So look, let's move right along. I think let's talk about cards and payments in Australia as a whole, Marina. What are you seeing from a program manager perspective?
Yes, so working for the issuing team, we experienced changes in the marketplace firsthand. Just a few years ago, when somebody mentioned a prepaid Visa card, you instantly thought of a traditional physical plastic that's used for disbursements such as expenses or petty cash, and of course gift cards. And prior to COVID, we already started seeing the movement towards the more digital options. But of course, with pandemic, it's just accelerated the whole process. And now we are seeing a lot more interest from businesses to be able to facilitate that instant access to funds and implement agile business rules also as close to real time as possible on how that card is used. So those two are really becoming the focal point for a lot of companies we work with. So some of our new market solutions, one of them that I'll talk a little bit more later, just-in-time payments, or as our partners at Marqeta refer to it as just-in-time funding. Essentially, it's got zero balance cards that are linked to a managed ledger and an account, and they're perfect for powering up these features. And they're loved by both BNPLs and crypto exchanges as well. Your programs as quickly as possible. So, Brian,
So I think we're going to zoom in on those two things because again those are hot buttons. AJ, is this echoing in the halls of Visa at the moment as well?
Yeah, most definitely. But before I start though, Brad, I had a text message during your intro from Duncan Curry asking if this was live or recorded. So just to prove that it's live, if I do real-time feedback to his text message, then hopefully there's no doubt whatsoever.
Hello,
it is
Duncan.
Absolutely live. but anyway, on to your question, and just to kind of clarify, yeah, exactly. I mean, we've seen that same sort of rise and in growth in the prepaid market. It's over 2 years since Visa launched the Fintech Fast Track program, and we've seen some real evolution during that short period of time, just those 2 years. The idea of Fintech Fast Track was always to make it easier and simpler and faster for technology companies to issue a card for the first time. And working with partners like Novarte, we've been able to demonstrate that and work with some great iterations and great user cases that have come out of it. What we initially saw was prepaid cards being used in quite simple consumer digital banking environments. So the sort of thing where you've got a transaction account and then linked to that you've got a card. Just a fairly simple but a great user interface that's been wrapped around that capability. The next phase we really saw was kind of international remittances. So the ability to use the prepaid cards in many environments and many countries. Then what we saw was a whole wave of the use of prepaid in a digital banking experience for small business. And then more recently, we've seen buy now, pay later providers integrating cards so that our credential can be used at point of sales, whether that be in store, whether that be an online transaction. And then the very latest has been crypto. And it's the use of a prepaid card linked to a cryptocurrency exchange, making it really simple and easy for users to move from their cryptocurrencies, whether they be stablecoin or whether they be decentralized cryptocurrencies, converting them into fiat, and then using a Visa card to make a transaction at their favorite merchants. So we've seen multiple different use cases just in that 2-year period where a prepaid card has really facilitated that great innovation and being able to get small, medium, and large-sized technology companies to market really quickly and to build really great user experiences. In the buy now, pay later space, I think it's really interesting. We've certainly seen an explosion in the use of buy now, pay later, and the last 12 months of COVID has seen that increase quite substantially again. Notably, though, there's still a very strong position for credit and debit cards in this market. If we look at a percentage, the total value of buy now, pay later payments is around $9 billion, according to the RBA. Whereas if you look at total overall credit card usage, it's only about 4% of credit card usage. So significantly, credit is still being used. It's still very popular.
Yeah, I think to paraphrase Mark Twain, the reports of its death are sort of, the rest of it. So, but I think what's interesting for me, if I stand back as a third party, it shows that the buy now, pay later sector is pushing the innovation and is pushing the need for innovative products. And what I like specifically about this is, and our friends at Apple might agree as well, is that it gives the digital wallets some new, it gives them more depth, and it gives them more, it makes them more than just a replacement for a credit card or a debit card. And I think that that's something I'm really keen on, which is a virtual card in an Apple wallet is just more than just a card replacement. And I think this is where this whole thing sort of comes together rather nicely. And the BNPL industry has pushed that innovation. And for that, I commend them. I think it's a really good way of taking a prepaid product, new technology, get everyone together, and bingo, we have a solution. So I do very much like that. Marina, just to you for a minute, can you explain the process of this from a program manager's perspective?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Brad. We are very fortunate here at Novarte. We've got a great, innovative and very passionate, talented tech team led by our issue and CTO, Craig Glendanian, who actually introduced just-in-time payments model that I mentioned before. This solution essentially allows merchants, fintechs, and enterprise to have tighter controls on how the disbursements are implemented, and also on the other side have that instant payout at a point of sale using their own business rules. So as you mentioned quite correctly, BNPL companies are constantly innovating, and we see them doing instant issuance of payment cards, adding it to that wallet, whether it's an Apple or Google or Samsung. And then our solution allows to authorize any transaction that's done, whether it's online or in store, by using the BNPL customer ledger on the other side. Yeah. So essentially, you can apply this model anywhere, wherever Visa is accepted, which is a very powerful value proposition to the businesses as well as the end customers.
And this is where I'm going to really zoom in, right? Because I think this is the secret sauce. I think this just-in-time funding model or just-in-time payments is the absolute key to this, how this all works. And I remember when these products started to drip into the market, there was some confusion around how did it all work, and there was a lot of discussion. Most of it was interesting, but the actual secret sauce is the just-in-time payment. So AJ, where does Visa sit in with the just-in-time payments model with this?
Yeah, look, I mean, we're very supportive of it, Brad, obviously. And what I would add to that is that, the evolution of payment technology, and in particular the advancements by issuer processors, has made it possible to deliver user experiences that weren't really possible just a few years ago. So, most of the fintechs I meet are very focused on a great user experience. However, it's not always achievable just through user interface and design. What you need is a really decent, smooth process in the background. So whether that's an eKYC module, for instance, or whether it's a great processor that's providing just-in-time funding, it's that technology that provides the great experience, and then you need that overlay of a good user interface as well. So, unlike traditional banks, fintechs have generally adopted a partner-type approach rather than trying to build everything themselves. And that's allowed them to then step out and work with processors like Marqeta that you've mentioned, GPSs of the world, Decta, and so forth, and then working closely with organizations like Novarte to deliver those situations and deliver those user experiences. So finding the right partner and using the right technology is really key to delivering the best user experience. So we completely agree. The technological developments and advancements that we've seen in the issuer processor space has made all the difference and has meant that those buy now, pay later providers have been able to deliver a type of solution that no longer relies on barcode and QR code, but allows them to provide a card-like experience, but linking it back to being able to pay in installments or subscription credit.
And we are a card-based country, right? So it makes perfect sense that we have a card-based solution. But the just-in-time funding, I am going to keep bashing on about it because from a customer experience, this is seamless. So when the customer is at the checkout or at wherever they're purchasing and they're using their buy now, pay later card, they're not aware that this is happening in the background. So that's how quick this is. And it's that experience to the merchant, which is fantastic because it doesn't require each individual, if you're rolling out to a whole chain of stores, you don't need to go and implement every single one. You can just do it as a card-based solution. And then the just-in-time funding gives control for the buy now, pay later player or whoever it happens to be to control that sort of flow, as it were. And that's what I really like about this, right? So you've got a fan, okay? I want the audience to sort of get the importance of this solution, because this is where these two things can collide, and that's how you get a very, very good customer experience, which is very familiar as far as a card is concerned, and a different experience at the back with the just-in-time funding or just-in-time payments model. It just works very, very well. So well done to all of you. I'll give you that. So congratulations. So look, I think. Sorry, go on, Brett.
Sorry, Brett. I just wanted to zoom in from the Novarte perspective. Essentially, with the model, what you have is a cardholder that gets access to what we call a zero balance card, and it's tied to the customer's ledger that sits within the BNPL solution. And in essence, the business rules, logic, authorization also, and funding sits with the BNPL provider as well. And just to explain the complexity, when that cardholder goes to the merchant to make a transaction, you have 5 touch points from there for the transaction. So from the cardholder, the transaction goes to the merchant, from the merchant to acquirer, from the acquirer, it's transferred to Visa, who recognizes it as one of Novarte's cards, for example, and then we push it out to BNPL for an authorization, and then the BNPL logic says, yes, authorize this transaction, and it goes back out. And this is all done, as you've mentioned, within a couple of seconds. So it's seamless experience for the cardholder, but the tech behind it is quite significant, and it's been our focus for the team to develop it and make it seamless.
Yeah, there is a lot going on, I think, is the way to put it. This is not just a standard thing. There's a lot going on in the background. So, look, and I think the audience has probably joined the dots. There's a lot of applicability to this outside of the 4 walls of BNPL, right? So we've got the BNPL solution, but I think we'll talk about this more in a few minutes, but I think the applicability to other markets is very clear on this. So anyway, look, I am also aware of time, so and I knew that the 3 of us would, enjoy a chat, but I am going to push on. And I think this is where we go into crypto. So, AJ, I'm going to throw to you on crypto, because I know Visa's had a couple of, there's been some press around what Visa's doing in crypto, and you alluded to that earlier. Do you want to put some meat on the bones for that for us in the audience, please?
Yeah, certainly, Brad. And look, the way I see it, consumers are seeking choice, and they want the option of being able to access a store of value wherever they've accumulated that value. So if you look at it like that, traditionally it's always been our wages are paid into a transactional bank account, and then it's from there that we derive our funds via a debit card, and we might have a credit card as well. And what we're starting to see now, though, is particularly in the last 6 months, is where we've seen those propositions where there's a card that's being linked to a store of value, and that store of value could be an investment fund, it could be stocks, it could be commodities like gold or silver, or it could indeed be a cryptocurrency or a digital currency like Bitcoin or Ethereum or a stable coin. So the ability to access your store of value wherever you've accumulated it becomes really important to the user. And if you think about what that means is that, okay, I get paid into a transaction account. I transfer my funds maybe into a cryptocurrency exchange or into an exchange that I can trade shares on. I don't want to be changing money back into my transaction account necessarily. I want to access it from where I like to invest. And if I'm trading Bitcoin and I've sold some, I want to be able to access that. Or alternatively, I want some clever mechanisms that sit in the background which are either derived through the processor or delivered through the exchange itself, which immediately converts those cryptocurrencies and those digital currencies directly into fiat currencies like Australian dollar, so that I can go to my favorite retailer and I can tap my phone. So we're certainly starting to see a huge uptick in that demand. And if you think about it, Australians have really jumped on this bandwagon when it comes to digital currencies. 1 in 4 Australians are currently invested into digital currencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum and so forth. And 13% are currently invested in Bitcoin alone. So this is not something that we can turn our back on. This is evolving very quickly. The people have spoken. This is what they want to be able to do with their money. Some of us might think it's incredibly risky, and it certainly is volatile, but it's risk that consumers want to take. And the ability to be able to tap into those funds when I need it to pay for my groceries or pay for my rent or pay for whatever it is that I need, then having a Visa card connected to those accounts is really important to them. And from Visa's perspective, what it's then meant is that we've seen some incredible user experiences that have been delivered by cryptocurrency exchanges. Typically, we've seen really great eKYC, so the ability to onboard a customer and on-ramp that customer for the first time so that they can transact on the exchange. There's been some great developments in that space. And then we've also seen some fantastic developments in rewards as well. So we think of the infrequent flyer. You know, in 2019, I used this stat, I took over 100 flights. In 2020, it was 4. So I think like most of us, during 2020, our amount of travel and the amount of air travel dropped considerably. As a result, the value of reward points that are linked to frequent flyers have dropped. And what we've seen with cryptocurrency exchanges is that evolution of the rewards program as well. So where you are getting rewarded in Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency every time you tap your Visa card, as an example, or the requirement for you to stake a certain value of cryptocurrency, and as a result of that, getting a greater interest rate on any savings that you have with cryptocurrency, or a lower interest rate on any loan or debt that you have with a cryptocurrency exchange, or a better card product with better rewards and better rewards and discounts and so forth. So I think overall we're very open to cryptocurrency opportunities and cryptocurrency exchanges working with Visa. And you may have seen some announcements that we've made recently, how we are looking to support stablecoin as a method by which cryptocurrency exchanges can then settle with Visa on a daily basis for international payments. So rather than using US dollar fiat currency to settle every day, they are instead transferring via USDC coin, which means that it's much quicker from their perspective. It's open 24/7, unlike most banks today, to be honest. And then also from a cryptocurrency exchange's perspective, they don't tend to carry a lot of fiat currency in their treasury reserves, whereas they do have substantial quantities of stablecoin like USDC. So we've certainly seen a change in this space, and we've seen some great evolution, and it's not always in the obvious spots of just converting crypto into fiat. It's also about how they've used their rewards programs and how they've reimagined rewards that aren't just linked to frequent flyer points.
No, and you've raised a really good point. I mean, and I'm seeing this with my own clients, the onward march to crypto. It's just you can't ignore it. You have to be part of it, but you have to have the right solution. And I do agree with you with rewards, as I alluded to at the very beginning. You know, back in the 1700s when Ansett was flying, you know, that was the very first one. We have evolved, and I think people are looking for different kind of rewards and a different kind of experience. And I think, you know, if we can pull all these things together, then that's going to be a very compelling consumer proposition. So this sort of now vectors into Novarte. So I'm going to throw back to Marina. So with what AJ's just said, right, and we've heard about the crypto exchange, we now have the conversation about just-in-time funding. So Marina, how do we do this with crypto with Novarte?
Yes, thank you, Brad. Excellent question. Novarte actually wears a couple of hats in regards to crypto. We are building a direct payment gateway between the holders of cryptocurrency and businesses that will enable the wallet holders to use their crypto to purchase things online or face-to-face. As an issuer, we also have been, of course, speaking to a variety of companies in crypto space that are actually looking for a very similar tech to what we've just discussed with regards to BNPL and that's just-in-time funding model. The end user is trading in crypto on the exchange and doesn't have instant access to funds, and this is where to fiat funds, and this is where the card comes in. And Visa card can allow a crypto holder instantly access their funds at point of sale. So zero balance card and just-in-time payment model and the tech at the background, they all work in tandem, and they allow the crypto card promoter to maintain their business and customer account in their own ledger. And we take care of the authorization of transactions through the same exact 5 points I mentioned before. We actually see this model applied in a variety of enterprise use cases, whether it could be insurance, transport, NDIS, healthcare, charities, even government. Pretty much any business or company that wants to implement their own agile business rules on specific use cases even, whether it's disbursements, gifts, or loyalty.
Okay.
As you know.
Sorry, go on, I interrupted you.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that payments, when they do right, they contribute to the bottom line quite significantly.
Yeah, and look, we have laboured the just-in-time funding, but I think it's important, right? Because again, we get back to this is the secret sauce. This is what drives this innovation, and so look, it's impressive. So look, we've spoken a lot about the flexibility and the scalability. How can startups get in on this? And I ask you this question because I speak to a lot of fintechs, and I speak to Fintech Australia, and they want to get into the payment space, and that's not always easy. What's Novarte doing in that space?
Of course, we've realized early on the difficulties that fintechs are experiencing. So in October last year, we've introduced payments accelerator programs specifically for that. And not just fintechs, but enterprise or other companies that have a fantastic payment card idea or even payment idea are able to use it. Essentially, what it is, it's an opportunity to come, learn, test, and build your own value proposition, find your sweet spot, and iron out those difficult bottlenecks that you might have. With the payment accelerator, you will be up and running within a couple of weeks. We give test environment as well as the sandbox environment, depending on the type of solution that goes better with the proposition. You might get a test, some test cards as well, or some dummy transactions to work with. And you can take those lessons and implement them in a full-scale program after, which just generates better success. So we've since launch, we've actually have 3 companies that are moving into a full program now. So we know firsthand that it's been a great addition to our solutions.
Yeah, so I mean, this gives smaller players and fintechs a taste for what's going on. They get the sandbox, they get access to some Novarte technology resources, and they get to talk and actually see what's going on under the hood, which I think is very important because payments can be a mystery to outside of the 4 walls of what we do, and I think it's important that if we can at least show them what's actually going on, it's going to be good for everybody. So kudos for that one. Look, before I just open up for Q&A, AJ, is there anything else that you'd like to touch on that I may have missed?
And look, I think we've covered quite a few topics there. Maybe the questions from the audience will elicit a few more areas of discussion for us. But I think just to reiterate, it's the quality of the technology has meant some really fantastic use cases have come to life. And again, just to reiterate the fact that as we store value, we want access to it wherever it might be. And if you're a merchant and you're collecting funds as a small or micro merchant, you want access to those funds with a Visa card to be able to make those transactions. If you are saving money in cryptocurrency, or if you're investing in stocks and shares, again, you've accumulated value and you want to be able to access it with a card. So things have evolved quite a lot in the last 5 years, probably, in terms of moving away from a transactional account is the only place where I store my money, and alongside that, I have a savings account. I think people want a lot more flexibility, and good technology makes that possible.
Yeah, and to your point, AJ, Look, I mean, I had to eat a lot of humble pie last year when it came to Apple Pay, because when I viewed it through the lens only of a card replacement, that was only seeing part of the picture. The true value of or any of the digital wallets, not just Apple Pay, is the ability to have a virtual card dropped into your wallet, and from that comes the rest of these solutions. And so I have had conversations with Apple to say, look, I get it now. And also, I've also become a little bit evangelical about Apple Pay from the merchant side, if you've probably seen some of my posts, because I think that experience is absolutely spot on. So I have eaten humble pie, and that was very good for me for Christmas. But I think you're right. I think this is where we're sort of heading. So look, thank you both. Let's just open up to Q&A. We've probably got a few minutes for any questions that might come through. Let me just have a look. Here we go. What are the latest trends around using crypto for everyday purchases via traditional card rails with instant conversion from crypto to fiat via the card? I think we've covered that. Is there anything more? We actually got to use anything that we can, I don't know if we really need to dwell on that one. How will customer experience be impacted by the use of zero balance cards? I think that is a good question. So what actually happens at the customer, Marina, at the customer site? Probably not very much.
I think this is just going to enhance the customer experience further. It just makes it a very seamless ability to onboard the customer, give them the card for them to start using the card straight away. It gives the flexibility to the business to implement controls if they wish to, exactly on how that card is used, and you can segment it by different markets. So it's a fantastic proposition for both the end user, the card holder, as well as the business.
Okay. What is Novarte going to do to induce further growth in the sector? And I think this is a really good question. I think let's talk about the other use case scenarios, because I think there's some good ones.
Yes, of course. With Novarte, we essentially grow in this model further. So there's a lot of different industries where it can be implemented. And we're talking to quite a few different ones. I've mentioned a few, but if there's anyone in the audience who would like to learn more, they're welcome to reach out to us and schedule a meeting with our tech team and us in sales to discuss it further and test it out.
Okay. What other markets do you see work well? Just-in-time payments model, we've covered that. What else have we got? I enjoyed the presentation, thank you. I don't think we'll take that as a comment, as Tony Jones will patiently put it. How does eKYC come into the picture with Novarte cards? Is that part of the program? Marina?
Our KYC is a big part of onboarding for anyone who wants to issue prepaid cards. We work with a variety of suppliers, and our compliance puts a lot of attention to that part of the process. But again, KYC is at the background. It's meant to be there. It's meant to be there and seamless, so the card holder doesn't actually feel it. So, and there's opportunities where once you apply for that card, as you go through that process, the KYC is done at the background. So by the time you finish your onboarding with the platform, you already have that digital card in the app that you can push into your wallet. So it's a seamless experience.
Yeah, and that's what I like about it. We've got people asking, how do we get involved from a user point of view? We've taken that. I'll take this one head on. You've been very critical of BNPL in the past, that's me. Is this another slice of humble pie? Are you still very critical? The way I'll answer that is, I think that what I like about what's happened is this push, that we push through away from our standard, the way we've always done things, and into new opportunities and into new markets. And I think that's what I like about it, and how cleverly the BNPL players have been able to see that opportunity, spot it, and get in with Marqeta, get in with Novarte, and the card schemes, and create this. Because if you look at the time frame, it's actually very short. that this has happened. We're talking really a matter of only a few months. So I think that's what I'm excited about. So yes, I hope that answers that question. I enjoyed the presentation again. eKYC we've done. Are BNPL providers able to price merchants separately when their customers are using zero balance cards for transactions? That's a good question. So I think that this is where the explanation is what triggers what. So the just-in-time funding has the separate relationship with the BNPL player where the transaction sits on the card rails. Is that sort of how we're looking at it, Marina?
But I think each BNPL innovates in their own way, and each company has their own relationships with their merchants, and the card is just another mechanism to strengthen the offer.
Yeah. Okay. AJ, here's one for you. Visa's appetite to work with early-stage fintechs, is there a preference for engaging program manager like Novarte or willingness to work direct?
Yeah, it does depend on their stage and their evolution in terms of their size and their capabilities and the staff that are required. It's not an easy job to run a card program. It's not an easy job to launch a card for the first time and have the right backroom staff to be able to support it and the cardholder support when there are inevitably questions from your customers to ask questions about transactions or dispute transactions and so forth. So, typically that's somewhere between 4 to 6 full-time employees that are required to run a card program. So it's not for the faint of heart, but certainly Visa's doors are very open to work with fintechs of whatever size and technology companies of whatever size. The most suitable model might be working with a great partner like Novarte, and for others, the most suitable partner might be to develop a principal license agreement with Visa. There is a collateral requirement because we need to safeguard the system. So all those things need to be considered to establish whether it is best for them to move directly with us or to engage the services of a good partner like Novarte. So It's not a one-size-fits-all, Brad, I guess is the short answer for that. It does depend on the circumstances and the appetite to support with full-time employees and so forth.
Yeah, exactly. Here's another one for you about crypto. Ripple Crypto. How is Ripple Crypto involved with Asia? I'm not quite sure what that means. Do you know anything about, do you want to comment on?
Well, I know the Ripple coin, the XRP, and I know the Ripple organization, which is predominantly for B2B cross-border transactions and tend to be working with banks to incorporate that solution, but I don't quite know what the reference is to Asia necessarily there.
Yeah, I don't know either, so sorry. Another one about neobanks. I think this is quite, do you see providers of virtual card services being able to price their products and services to accommodate neobanks or startups in the future? I think we sort of answered that, AJ. I think that's probably, it's sort of determined by size and scope and not one size fits all, so I'll take that one as answered. I do feel like Q&A. Oh, this is a good question. Does Visa see a timeline when a BNPL transaction is greater than a credit transaction?
I would never. Yeah, I've never say never. Obviously, I think the buy now, pay later segment has been particularly popular with a certain demographic, and that's a demographic that's probably a little younger than I, so 35 and below. Most of those consumers don't have a credit card. They have debit, they have a transaction account, and they're using buy now, pay later. More than 50% of them are without a credit card, and they use a buy now, pay later provider to act as their credit card in that experience. But saying that, I mentioned the stat before, it accounts to just over $9 billion, according to the RBA, of total payments last year, which means that it's about 4% the size of credit as it stands today. Now, admittedly, the usage of credit has dropped over the last 12 months, and it has mainly moved to debit. So we've seen a drop of around 11%, again, RBA figures, in credit usage and an increase of 13% in debit. Buy now, pay later has probably also benefited from that, but buy now, pay later has probably most benefited from people making transactions online. So it's a conversion of cash or in-store payments to online payments, where the buy now, pay later presence has been really strong, and organizations like Zip and Afterpay are often integrated into that payment page. And so consequently, they've picked up, as the overall use of e-commerce has picked up significantly over 12 months, they probably won a disproportionate share, and good on them from that perspective.
Absolutely.
Will it overtake credit? In my opinion, there's always going to be a place for credit. There's always going to be credit card users, but at this moment in time, that segment is really popular with a certain demographic, as I mentioned, and it makes sense for them. They like to budget that way. They feel like they are spending their own money rather than having a long-term credit commitment in most cases.
And look, to your point, my former boss at Diners Club from back in the 90s, Grant Halverson, so very unkindly referred to them as seniors cards. I don't think that's actually, that's not quite right, because I think...
well, I'm a senior then, Brad, I'm afraid.
Well, you and me both. So look, I think we're all going to have to coexist, but I think it is horses for courses. I have to say the audience is asking some really good questions. I'm scrolling through them as quickly as I can. I think we'll do one or two more, and then I'll go to the quiz, because I know you all want that $50. Thanks, team. Brad and AJ, do you think Novarte is offering with virtual cards a global opportunity or limited to Australia? Actually, I might throw that one to Marina.
Of course. Thanks, Brad. Well, the Visa card, the beauty of the Visa card is that it can be used anywhere globally. We are licensed to issue cards to Australian residents. We also got a license for New Zealand. But essentially, once you got your Visa card, you can go and buy from any merchant in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the power of Visa, isn't it? It gives you that. I forget the numbers, the number of merchants. I might put you on the spot, AJ. How many merchants are Visa quoting these days? I forget.
Gee. I hope my comms team aren't watching or listening to this, Brad, because I'm going to get a flurry of emails saying I was wrong. I believe it's 64 million. Can I please check before this recording is posted?
That's okay. We'll take that. I'll do it. We'll take that as a comment. Okay. So look, I think what we'll do. One more is there. Oh, actually, okay. I might throw this one in. Is Visa concerned that cards are just a means to a payment method, and it becomes all about using the rails, or is this concern the proliferation of payment options just means more transactions? That's quite a good question. I think I don't know how we answer that.
Brad, what I would say is that we think of Visa's proposition as being credentials. So they're tokens more often than not these days, whether it's in the form of plastic, whether it's in the form of metal, or whether it's in the form of being integrated into a mobile phone, or it's a token that is stored by a merchant because they're a merchant that you buy from on a regular basis. We think overall as a credential. So we're not concerned about, in certain markets, the use of plastic reducing. We very much encourage the use of mobile payments, so the use of Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, Android Pay, and so forth. So we are more focused on the credential rather than the form factor of being plastic, metal, or
product. That's exactly where I'm at. So yeah, that works. Look, I've just realised we're at 1:45, so we're at time. Thank you all very much for the questions. It's time for the quiz. So there are 3 questions and 3 $50 vouchers for our audience. So I hope you were paying attention. The questions are not that difficult, but whoever gets in first gets a $50 voucher. So when was Novarte listed on the ASX? Right answers only. Into the where the questions go. Come on. Or are you going to let me? No, we haven't. Come on, that's easy. No, okay, cool. Which company did Novarte? Oh, this one's an easy one. Which one did Novarte partner with last year for a bin sponsorship? There we go. I think there we go. We've got so we've got our first answer. We'll think that's so. Kim Lim, you've got correct on 96, and the other one is 20. Cool. Fine. We're done. So we'll get those to you. Third one. Besides BNPL and crypto, name one other industry that the just-in-time payment solution could be used for. Anyone? Anyone? I know there's a little bit of a lag, but I think we'll get that one too. Yep. There we go. Done. Okay. So look, we've got all the answers on the screen. We will get those gift vouchers out to the winners. You were all right. You were paying attention. So congratulations. Sorry, Duncan, you don't get to answer your own question about Marquetta. Apologies for that. Is there any other final closing notes from either of our very, very generous presenters? AJ, anything else you'd like to say in closing, or is that probably enough?
Brad, just thank you very much. You've been very kind to me today. I've followed your LinkedIn posts with some interest, and I thought you were going to be much tougher on me. So thank you.
I am, and I promise I'll be tougher next time. But that was an absolute pleasure, AJ. Thank you so much for your generosity today. Marina, any closing comments?
No, thank you so much, Brad and AJ. It's been great talking to you today. Thank you. And I encourage anyone to reach out to us and ask any questions we haven't answered yet.
Correct. So look, if there's any questions or anything, you know me on LinkedIn, so message me or AJ or Marina. There will be LinkedIn details about what we discussed, and probably if the legal team will let me, I'll put up actually the model of how the just-in-time payments model actually works as a PDF, so you can all have a look at that, and that should actually just close that loop out nicely for everybody. So at that stage, it's nudging 2 o'clock, so it's time to go back to work. Thank you, everybody, and we'll bid you farewell.